Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our March 5th school board meeting. We appreciate all of our guests being here this evening, and welcome to all of our board members. And we're going to begin today with inviting Mr. Poston, the assistant principal at Pleasant Hill Elementary School, to introduce our young guest who's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence.
Good evening, Chairman Gaskins, Superintendent Price, and board members. This evening, it is my distinct pleasure to have the opportunity to introduce one of Pleasant Hill Elementary Stream Academy's finest, fourth grader, Samaya Williams. Samaya is 9 years old, has two sisters, and is the daughter of Matthew and Chantel Williams. Outside of school, she enjoys reading, watching TV, playing basketball with her sister, and going to church. Inside school, Ms. Cribb and Ms. Stone are quick to sing her praises. She is hardworking, well-mannered, helpful, and an all-in-all well-rounded student. This is all demonstrated through her actions and accomplishments, as she is an honor roll student, a Cub ambassador, and participates in the Junior Beta Club. She is certainly a model student who embodies the traits of our Cub matrix. She's positive, patient, and above all kind. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the excellent, the outstanding Samaya Williams.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated.
Thank you so much, Samaya. You did a wonderful job. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. The first thing on our agenda this evening is the recognition of fall and winter all-state athletes. Dr. Giles is going to present this.
Good afternoon, Chairman Gaskins, members of our board, Mr. Price, District Administration, and our extended Georgetown County School District family. Thus far, this 2023-2024 athletic season has provided our students and coaches with many opportunities to shine. The Waccamaw High School girls golf team was named Class 3A state champions. 18 students were named as all-state athletes during our fall sports seasons. 4 students were named all-state athletes during our winter sports season, and 7 students have participated in all-star games or a competition associated with their sport. Additionally, 4 of our coaches received recognition during these last 2 sports seasons as well. I commend each athlete and coach for excelling in their sport while also demonstrating leadership, fair play, and good sportsmanship. Assisting me this afternoon with recognitions are the administrators, athletic directors, and coaches from Carvers Bay Early College and Career High School, Andrews High School, and Waccamaw High School. First, we have Carvers Bay Early College and Career High School. Our board will join us now with our superintendent. We would like to recognize the following athletes from Carvers Bay Early College and Career High School. Natalie Joy. She played in the North-South All-Star Game. Kennard Hayward, All-State Basketball. Josiah Young, All-State Football, and participated in the North-South All-Star Game. And Jershelle Gathers, All-State Basketball, and she also played in the Carolina Classic All-Star Game. This was a first time for Carvers Bay. And last but not least, to Coach Matthew Richard. He coached in the Touchstone Energy Bowl North-South All-Star Game. Congratulations to Carvers Bay Early College and Career High School. Next is Andrews High School. Oh. Moving a little fast.
Right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Miss Hamill, if you'll step this way. All right, again. On 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Good job, Carvers Bay. And next is Andrews High School. Andrews High had 7 students named to the All-State football team. They are Brandon Cumby, Davion McNair, Khalil Dorsey, AJ Lee, Caden Dorsey, Bradley Hernandez, and Lavon White. Lavon, also participated in the North-South All-Star Game. We also have 2 coaches from Andrews High who were recognized during the fall sports season for their accomplishments in football. Coach Jim Rao was named the Class 2A Lower State Assistant Coach of the Year. And Coach Scott Durham was named the Region 8 AA Coach of the Year, and he coached in the Touchstone Energy Bowl North-South All-Star Game.
Again on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, Mr. Durham, you want to show your certificate? And you want to turn yours and open it up? Okay. All right. Again on 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
And last we have Waccamaw High School. Waccamaw had 12 students named to an all-state team during the fall and winter sports seasons. They are Jake D. Maria, all-state football. Adrian Great, all-state football. Ben Coyne, all-state football. Cameron Jackson, all-state football. Molly Congdon, all-state volleyball. Brecken Lachey, all-state volleyball. And she also participated in our North-South All-Star game. Kaylee Holick, all-state girls golf. Anna Brown, all-state girls golf, and she's participated in the North-South All-Star match. Wade Leventis, all-state cross country. Dawson Richardson, all-state cross country. Patrick Gallagher, all-state wrestling. And Colin Beaver, all-state wrestling, and he participated in the North-South All-Star wrestling match. We'd also like to recognize Coach Don Williams. He was the coach for the North-South All-Star Wrestling Classic, and he also coached and won 600-plus wins thus far in his coaching career.
On 3, 1, 2, 3. Hold on just a second. Miss Johnson, will you stand? Yep. I got to make sure I can see everybody's face. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Again, congratulations to our student athletes and coaches, and we look forward to spring recognitions.
Oh, nice seeing all those athletes, man, excel. I met a gentleman.
And cleaner, is that?
Oh, that's what it's all about now. This is.
Is that a new addition, or have I not noticed that before?
All right, that was very exciting. It's always exciting when we can recognize our students at our board meeting. First up is public comments or requests. Comments or requests should be brief and to the point as possible and shall not exceed 3 minutes and must not mention specific names of students or personnel. And this evening we have 2 cards. First, Mr. Neal.
Again, good evening.
Evening.
Mr. Price, Mr. Gaskins, fellow board members, I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the community of Carvers Bay, Plainville, Knox Swamp, PD, Choppy, Browns Ferry, Pleasant Hill Magnet School programs. There are great concerns about the individual that was hired with the magnet grant funds at the amount of $75,000 to $93,000. Looking at the original magnet grant funding, there are no line item entries that justifies this position. This is a great concern, especially when other grant requirements were not met, to include positions not being filled and completed, hiring a STEAM coordinator when the grant requirement is valid, why are persons being sent on trips and attending training when there are have no dealing with magnet program. Why are we hiring STEAM coordinator when the grant requirement is avid? Allegedly, person hired used magnet monies to take trip before being hired into the position of $75,000 to $93,000. If the certification coordinator is an outside agency, there is no need for $75,000 to $93,000 positions. When the magnet lead teacher asks for materials, they're being told no. When the magnet coordinator, if there are of minority colors. I was told that the teachers are being ignored by the coordinator when communication is necessary. I was told that by the teachers. The question coming from the community is, why is someone hired at $75,000 to $93,000 of magnet monies working on other projects outside of the magnet grant requirement? This means that position is not needed. Question is also asked, why is the choice of hiring persons must come out of Blightwood, South Carolina, Richland 2 School District? What is the bidding process for procurement when ordering equipment for the magnet program, and who is the watchdog over monies being spent? Why are teachers using their personal devices to post magnet social media contents? I understood during the visit that they are being told no when requesting proper equipment. As of today, Magnet is still short of resources and upgrade except for the Pleasant Hill Elementary School area. Why are the performing arts at Browns Ferry Elementary School but none at Carvers Bay Middle nor Carvers Bay High School? What are the line item in the grant that justifies additional $75,000, $93,000 salary? If it is necessary to hire someone, why not a consultant? The magnet coordinator must show interest in the community, and that does not interfere with the day-to-day operations of the schools. Who's conducting checks and balances of this magnet program that was sold to the underserved community?
Thank you, Mr. Neal.
We are
Your time is up.
requesting a public meeting of the community. This is a federal dollars requirement and federal grant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Our next speaker is Mr. Johnny Ford.
Well, good afternoon, all. I am here just to lend my voice along with all the other community members who have already done so in the open community forums as pertaining to the next election of our area high school principals. What I'm going to say could apply to each of the high school principals that you all will be considering. But in particular, I live on the Waccamaw Neck in the Pawleys Island community, and so my comments are going to be concerning the next principal for Waccamaw High School in particular. As should be said, the next principal of any high school, in particular, as I'm saying about the Waccamaw High School, we're hoping, and I say we, I was elected, I could say, or voluntold to come and speak on behalf of some of our area pastors as well. And especially for Waccamaw High School, we're looking for a principal who can speak and relate to all cultures and races at the Waccamaw High School. That should be obvious. But living in that community, I do look for certain standards, especially when we're going to look for someone who's going to be the leader of our youth who are coming up, especially at the high school level. That next principal not only should be a person who can relate to all in our community, but obviously have the highest standard. And they should not be, this next principal should not be a person where there's rumblings, too many rumblings about any characteristics or flaws, especially one who don't have support of teachers or can continue a retention rate of teachers. But more importantly, one who can inspire the students of across the board. And so we just want to continue to see someone who will take that mantle to represent that community, as to represent the Waccamaw High School community, the Paulus Island community, the NEC itself, obviously all students across Georgetown County. And so we're looking for a person of standards and obviously with the qualifications. And we understand intangibles are important. And so those intangibles are important enough that that person doesn't mind coming outside the walls of the school and meeting people in the community. So we're looking forward to the next principal of the Waccamaw High School and trusting you all to make the best decision for the entire community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. That ends our public comment section. Our first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Each of you have received the minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved with 8-0 vote. Here we go. All right, action items, personnel list. The administration recommends approval of the personnel list, adoption of the agenda. The next thing is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion is carried. Okay, personnel list. The administration recommends approval of the personnel list as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Just any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The motion is the personnel list has been approved as listed. The next is policy GCQ, employee resignation. This is our second and final reading of this. We reviewed this at our last board meeting and the last two previous board meetings. The administration recommends second and final reading approval of policy GCQ, employee resignation as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved. It's been second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The policy has been approved. The next, we'll have some discussion about Ms. Lindsay Ann Thompson. I'm going to call you to the podium. Policy BDDH, public participation in board meetings. And if you will look at that policy, we have some decisions to make in the policy. I'll give you a second to pull it up on your computer so you can take a look at it, and it's up on the screen as well. And I'm going to let you walk us through this.
All right, good evening, Chairman Gaskins, members of the board, Mr. Price. At the last meeting, we discussed some potential options in our public comment participation policy. And so what we have is our same policy that we've had for quite some time above the numbered items and below the numbered items, but the numbered items are where the kind of the choices could come in. So there's 6 items, number 4 and number 5 both have an A or a B choice. You can include any or all of those 6 paragraphs. In 4 and 5, if you want to include either of those, you have to choose an A or a B. So I thought this might be an easier way rather than presenting multiple documents, just to kind of have all of the choices right here. So I'll just kind of go through it, make sure that we're on the same page about what each of the options are. They're all standalone, so you can adopt 1 or 6 of them, or any number in between. So the first one is very similar to what we've always had. Speakers must complete a comment card available at the meeting and give it to the board chairman prior to the beginning of the meeting. The form must be filled out in its entirety, including the person's name, address, phone number, topic to be addressed, and their role in the community. We've asked that they complete a form before, but the sentence about the form must be filled out in its entirety was something that you all seemed to be interested in the last meeting, to make sure that all of those pieces of information are completed.
That's what we do now, number one.
Okay, so number 2, all speakers are asked to be as brief as possible and to limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes unless granted special permission from the chairman. That is already in our policy. You can choose to keep it or take it out. Number 3, the entire period of public comment will be limited to 30 minutes. That would be something new. That's something that you all have kind of thought about. Some other districts have time limits, but that's not a requirement. It's not something that you have to have in there, but it is an option that you could put. Then we get into number 4. And you can kind of see where these two are almost identical, and the differences, I'll point that out. Speakers wishing to make similar comments are encouraged, but not required, to appoint one spokesperson to convey the group's message. Or, the only change here is that we added the phrase "to one another." So, speakers wishing to make similar comments to one another are encouraged, but not required, to appoint one spokesperson to convey the group's message. Again, that would be something new. Either one of those two would be new. We had similar language in the last version that we proposed, and you all had mixed feelings about that. Number 5, this would be brand new. These public comment procedures may be temporarily waived by a vote of 2/3 of the board members present at any meeting where such a waiver is justified by extenuating circumstances. And that's very similar to what the State Board of Education does. Or a second option there would be these public comment procedures may be temporarily waived by the board chairperson. A simpler process, but it still involves waiving the procedures. And then the final option there is the board vests in its chairman or other presiding officer, authority to terminate the remarks of any individual not adhering to the rules established above. And we currently have that in our policy, that the chairman can terminate the remarks of anybody. That's very similar to our current language. So that's kind of the list of options there. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Could you clarify for B? I understand for A, but I don't understand speakers wishing to make similar comments to one another.
That was just whether they're making, if there's 5 people that all want to comment about a new principle, or they're all making similar comments to one another, you could ask them, they could be encouraged to appoint a spokesperson. The phrase to one another, I think for some of us felt redundant or...
It's confusing.
It is confusing.
So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that you all discussed last time. We can certainly take that out.
So we're being asked to make a choice between A or B?
Or neither. You don't have to have either of them.
I think B needs
You could have 4A or 4B or neither of the 4s.
Definitely not B.
not B. To one another was the question before, and I thought we said that wasn't.
Right.
I might have misunderstood the directive on that. I
It
apologize.
wasn't a
okay.
directive, we
It's
just
okay.
discussed it.
Yeah. I'll definitely eliminate B.
All right, so we got one option
B.
gone.
What's the difference between A and B?
To one another.
Just that one phrase, to one another.
To one another.
I think that's cumbersome wording. In fact, when I read it, I was going to suggest, if we're going to use that one, that it say speakers wishing to make comments similar to other speakers are encouraged.
That's what
A says.
Yeah, that's what
I know.
A says.
Well, I don't understand what are they going to talk to one another at the podium? I don't understand what that means.
No,
Yeah.
that needs to go.
And that's why, we're saying B, we don't want B in this.
No. A.
A would probably suit us better,
A, correct.
Okay.
okay?
Mr. Chairman, I have some comments to make. I'm going to stick to my comments from last meeting. I want to start with number 3. The entire period of public comment will be limited to 30 minutes. At the last meeting, we did the math. 10 people at 3 minutes is 30 minutes. My problem with that is if we have 12 people or 14 people, who decides who gets the 30 minutes? I really don't like number 3 because we're taking the right away from our citizens, our teachers, our parents. Someone will have to choose who gets the 10 people at 3 minutes. So I'd like to strike number 3. I'd like to leave that up to the discretion of the chairman only on number 3 on the time period. Again, I don't want to eliminate anyone who wants to speak. Number 4 is going to be hard to enforce. We talked about that last time, about the groups. I think number 4 is on the groups, correct?
Yes.
Who's going to decide that we have groups? I mean,
Well, they would decide.
They would decide, and the word is encouraged.
but
We
they
can't- We can't police
My
that.
question is, who are the groups? And are they going to come in and sign up as Group A? We've got 10 people, we have 1 spokes. But anyway, that's going to be a hard one to enforce, okay? And then last but not least, number 5, I would like for number 5, I'm not sure when we're going to have time to do a 2/3 vote when we decide who's doing what. I'd like number 5 to be the discretion of the chairman again. So number 3, number 4, and number 5, I'd like to modify or strike. Especially number 3.
My understanding of number 5, if can waive the 30-minute limit.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
can
I
waive
just
that.
don't want to
But
take
if-
time to
but-
do a
but-
vote.
But if we take out number 3, why would we need
We wouldn't need number 5.
5B?
That's correct. I'm with you.
The-
I think we eliminate 3 and 5.
When we put in number 5, just as a point of information, my thought was that any of the comment procedures that you adopt, whether it's the 30 minutes total, the 3 minutes per person, filling out their comment card, that any of those requirements could be waived by either a 2/3 vote or the chairman.
chair.
So
Yeah.
it's not directly tied just to number 3, but it certainly could be if that's how you wanted it to be written.
Yeah, and the other problem with number 3 is we've got to monitor 10 people. Once 10 people signed up, we got to cut it out. So the 11th and 12th person are not going to be able to speak. So we got to enforce the top 10. And I just do not like the idea of giving anyone denial on speaking at our public comment section.
Well, that's where number 5 comes in.
Yeah, that's
And
where.
not everyone speaks for 3 minutes.
Well, everybody I've seen runs out of time,
Well, yeah, but you don't have to speak for 3 minutes. You just can't go over 3 minutes.
but they're going to take their 3 minutes. And I'm good with that.
No, I'm good with that too, but just
I am too,
showing the
but,
option there.
It's just somebody's got to make the decision. Number 11, you can't speak. Number 12, you can't speak.
We can
You have to
waive
come
that.
back next
No, we
month.
can waive that.
That's
That's
when
where
we
number
would
5
waive
comes
it.
in.
We'd waive it,
Yeah,
correct.
that's where number
I feel
5
like
comes
we need
in.
to draw the line somewhere.
I can't
Come up with something, like you say, modification, we need to draw the line somewhere.
You talking about on minutes?
And number 3, we need to draw a line somewhere where you cut off the number of
Well,
speakers.
since I've been on the board, that's not been a problem.
Right.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't.
It
Now,
doesn't mean it won't be.
On hot topics, I could see that being a problem, but on hot topics, I think the public needs to be able to speak.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also agree with number 4. I don't like number 4 because, again, I mentioned last time that, speakers wishing to make similar comments are encouraged but not required to appoint a spokesperson. If I'm a speaker, I might not know the other speakers who are talking, and, my take on it might be different on that topic. It might be the same topic, but I may have a different take on it, and so I don't agree with limiting what someone says because other people are making similar comments.
It appears that all the new items, not the old items, it appears the old items we're pretty good with. It appears that the new items just doesn't make sense.
Not all of them.
I
Some
have
of
a
them don't,
question.
but not all of them.
Which one do we like?
Randy?
What's the question? My question is, since we have problem with these 3, 4, 5, what was the reason for interjecting that into this anyway? I mean, it seems like things were pretty good the way they were. So what's the reason for even putting any of them in?
Well, I'm the one who brought it up. I'm looking at this, for future. If you remember, when we were elected to the board, we were sworn in, we had, a 2-hour of public comments. We know that other boards do put limits on public comments. Our city council, our county
Have
council.
we researched any boards to see what their limits are? I mean,
Say that
have
again?
we researched any other boards to see what their limits are, 30 minutes, 1 hour, or what?
Yeah, we have. Several of us talked to other school districts at our last conference. Many
What was
boards,
the longest that you encountered, the longest period that they allowed?
August is 30 minutes. And, some boards have 2 public comment sections. The first one, they can only do public comments on what's the agenda. Then there's a second public comment that you talk about any subject you want. I don't think we need that.
Yeah, that's what the city of Georgetown does. They do exactly what you just said.
They do that?
Yes.
Okay.
They do that in other districts.
Well, I guess if we have time limits on speakers, it makes sense to have a time limit on everything, just to keep it in order. And if the chairman wishes, to me, if we get 12 people that want to speak,
We'll let them speak.
then we let them speak.
Yes. Well, the chair, as I'm chair, I would waive that.
Right.
Yeah, that was my point. I think a lot of this, Scott, needs to be left up to the discretion of our chairperson.
All right, so at this point, we need somebody to make a motion if we're going to try to move this forward, and what would be in this amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, if that's what you all would like to do tonight. And we kind of talked about the idea that you would make a motion for first reading approval of policy BDDH as presented, including the following paragraphs. So kind of 1, 2, 3, 4A, 5A, whatever selection you make after that. And we'll just kind of see how it plays out on your voting.
All right, would someone like to make a stab at it?
I move that we approve 1, 2, and 3. 4 is A, 5 is B, and 6 stands as it is.
What about 6? I'm sorry.
6 stands as it is.
Okay, so we have a motion for the policy presented as is, including 1, 2, 3, 4A, 5B, and 6. Is there a second to that motion? Hearing no second, it dies.
Okay?
Okay?
We'll strike that one.
All right?
So I just make a
And all my
motion that
time-
we keep it as it was before we started trying to make changes to it. So I make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Yes.
I'll second it.
There's a motion that would keep the policy as is, and there's been a second. Is there any discussion?
My discussion is, was the first policy, and I'm looking at the paragraph after number 6,
Yes, ma'am.
did the first policy include, however, the board will not hear complaints about specific school personnel?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
That's not been enforced. And I think that needs, if it's going to be in there, it needs to be enforced. I think people had the idea that they couldn't talk about a person by name, but they still pointed out a specific school personnel. And I think what that does is it takes up our time hearing about something that we have no control over, and people aren't going through the proper channels to deal with those issues. Rather, they're coming here to do that. So if we're going to have that in there, we need to enforce it.
I agree.
Any other discussion?
So just to go back to the 2-hour public comments, is the board, if we have that again, is that okay with the board?
It's possible.
Right, is that okay with the board?
What was that, Scott? Can you repeat that?
If we got to a point where we had, let's say, 20 speakers and they were going to go for 2 hours, is the board comfortable with sitting here listening to people maybe saying the same thing over and over again for 2 hours?
So we will know that early on. Bill's going to have to make that decision again.
Not if we adopt the motion that's been put on the floor.
Okay, so I understand now. So Scott, I say we take out the 30 minutes. If we run into 2 hours, then so be it. Undoubtedly, it's a pretty heavy topic to have 2 hours of public comments. It's just the way it is.
Reminder, the motion on the floor is keeping our policy as is. Is there any more discussion about that? I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, the policy, the first reading.
Okay. So for the next meeting, just to make sure I understand, I'll bring back the policy as it is currently written with no changes for second reading approval at our next meeting.
Right.
Okay.
That is correct. Yeah, if you approve, please raise your hand if you voted yay. If you voted no, raise your hand. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is contingency funding for interventionist positions. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, you may recall that last month we had presentations from our principals about the items they would like to be considered as priorities in the upcoming budget process. And the number one item for elementary and middle school principals was to retain their interventionist that is currently funded by ESSER funds that comes to an end this year. And I'll also remind you that after the board's priority workshop, that the board established interventionists as their top priority. So what I'm bringing to you tonight for your consideration is a contingency funding for interventionist positions. If we take all the elementary, intermediate, and middle school interventionists, that's 14 positions. I remind you that the budget is typically not finalized until early or late June. If those positions are not adopted into the budget, then Human Resources will have to place all 14 of those positions if those people are still here with us waiting to see if it passes. If we are able to go ahead and confirm that we will sustain those positions for one more year, then all of the principals at our elementary, intermediate, and middle schools can plan accordingly for their interventionists and any other vacancies that they have. Otherwise, they would have to hold one in case they needed to place an interventionist into a classroom. So what I'm bringing to you for your consideration is to use contingency funds out of our reserve fund balance for next year in case it doesn't get approved in the budget. So the goal would still be to get it approved in the budget, but if it's not, we would have some contingency funds allocated specifically for this piece so that everyone could plan accordingly with regards to interventionists. I just bring that to your consideration since it was the elementary principal's top priority, the middle school principal's top priority, and the board's top priority, and it involves 14 different positions. In meeting with Ms. Johnson and calculating some numbers, it would be, of all of those positions and benefits calculated together, it would be about a $1.3 million allocation to make sure we sustain those at all of our elementary, intermediate, and middle schools. But we have the ability to do that for one more year, and then that would give us the ability to plan accordingly. So I bring that to you for your consideration and a vote, but if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer those at this time.
Mr. Price, would that mean that the current interventionists that are there now with the ESSER funds would remain?
Correct.
Okay.
And my question is, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, but what about our career specialists that our high schools made a number one priority, and they too will be either given or not given a contract when the other employees are? And if that's effective in helping our report cards, and I heard clearly from our high schools that was a huge piece of the report card. Is there a possibility we could include that so that we could have a continuity of program? I just see those, and then once they're in the budget, if we can put them in the budget this year, they would be recurring positions, and we wouldn't have this situation every year. I'm concerned that those folks have a talent set too, that if we lose those positions, it's going to be very detrimental in our high school programs, especially as we move into summer and next school year.
I would certainly leave that to the discretion of the board. The reason I brought interventionists forward was because it was principals and board's number one priority. So that's what, and there's 14 certified continuing contract positions. The CCR coaches are not. So that's why I brought the interventionists for your consideration, but if it's the board's pleasure, then that could certainly be included.
I just certainly think that they, at contract time, that's a big piece, and those folks have a skill set that is different than lots of other skill sets. So I'd like to see us at the next board meeting perhaps consider what that piece of that would also be, so that we could have a continuity in programs both as their top priorities in both middle, high, and elementary schools.
I think that's very important.
Would you like to make a motion to include that in this piece?
I don't know that we.
That one is not listed on this agenda.
It's not listed on the agenda. We
I would
can't
like
do
for you to
that.
bring
So we
it
could
up.
bring it back.
We can bring it back.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
The administration recommends approval of the contingency funding for interventionist positions.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, board and superintendent comments. I would like to,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, last Thursday, I had the pleasure at being at Plantersville Elementary for their annual celebration of Black History Month. And the pageant, if you want to call it that, was the impact of black music on American music, and it went all the way from gospel to jazz to blues to hip-hop. And they did a great job. It was very entertaining. I think the students and the staff that put that on should be very proud of what they did. It was a whole lot of fun.
I saw that online, and I agree. I also attended a Black History program at Browns Ferry Elementary, and that was amazing. It's just wonderful when you can see elementary students displaying their talents, and they do a wonderful job. I also went out to Plantersville for their afternoon STEAM showcase, and was very pleased with what I saw there, and attended the Senior Bowl. And so I'm just really, when I get to go to the schools, and I don't get to go often enough, I really just appreciate the hard work that's put in. And seeing that Senior Bowl competition was really exciting.
fun.
So congratulations to all.
Well, and also went to the Browns Ferry Black History Month program, and it was just so much fun. And the tiny little kids who got up there and sang and you know, said their one sentence, and I mean, it was just a lot of fun, and we've just so much talent. So that was fun. And of course, the Academic Bowl was, you know, the other side of that, but although those are some artistic people also answering some. I swear I didn't know any of those questions. Even there were some grammar ones and literature ones I didn't know. I don't know where they came from. So very impressive.
No, it is said that they don't put on plays at the ferry, they put on productions.
Yes, absolutely. It was a production.
Honestly, I was able to make Browns Ferry, could not make Plantersville, but I was very impressed. One thing that always concerned me about going to those schools, though, is the all-purpose facility that they have to have them in. That's something I hope we can look into as far as how can we expand them or do something different, because there's never enough room to hold everyone that wants to be a part of it.
It was jam-packed crowded that day.
Yes, I thought they did an awesome job.
Well, I went to Georgetown High the other day. during the lunch period, they had a presentation. We had a few girls that placed in the state art show. I mean, you wouldn't believe the drawings that these children did. I thought a professional done them. And I think they'll be going national as well. I think one of them is Mr. Stuckey's daughter. And these girls are really good. So if any of y'all hadn't seen those, you really need to check them out.
Right.
I would just like to do kudos to this board. Amazing group. You know, as we went to our last conference and your dedication, and you get to hear from other school boards around the state, I think we have an incredible board, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I was able to make it to both the junior and senior bowl. I wish I was smart enough to answer those questions, but, you know, one day, maybe. Okay. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'd like to begin by congratulating some of our school teams who have been victorious since our last board meeting. First, I'd like to congratulate the Waccamaw Middle girls and Georgetown Middle boys basketball teams for winning their conference championships last month. I certainly see some future all-state athletes, like the ones we recognized earlier this evening, in the making at our middle schools. Next, I'd like to congratulate the Waccamaw Intermediate and Waccamaw Middle teams for winning the Junior Academic Bowl and the Waccamaw High team for winning the Senior Academic Bowl last week. We have some extremely bright students in Georgetown County, and it was a pleasure to see them displaying their talents and representing their school so well. And finally, mark your calendar for March 14th at 5 o'clock p.m. We will be hosting a parenting workshop here at J.B. Beck, and Dr. Franklin Ellis, Associate Dean and Director of the Center for Inclusive Communities and Special Assistant to the President for Diversity and Belonging at Furman University, will be our featured presenter. Admission is free to all parents in GCSD, and dinner will be provided. We only ask that attendees visit our website to RSVP for the event. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Hey, Bill, just one more thing before we go.
Okay.
Very thoroughly enjoyed Pleasant Hill Elementary Black History Program as well. An awesome job.
Excuse me, Mr. Price. Did you say that would be held here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. The next thing on the agenda, we have an executive session for the purpose of hearing student appeals. Recommendation for her Carvers Bay High School principal, recommendation for Waccamaw High School principal, and discussion of personnel matters and recommendations, and employment matters, superintendent evaluation, mid-year feedback. Is there a motion that we go into executive session?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are now in executive session. Okay, is there a motion that we come out of executive session?
So moved.
Okay. It's broken. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we are now out of executive session, and the first thing that they do, is there a motion for student appeals?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that we modify the decision of the hearing officer regarding student S1 so that S1 returns to school immediately on strict probation and a half-day schedule for 20 days. At the conclusion of 20 days, student S1 will return to a regular full-day schedule.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The motion is carried. Ms. Johnson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we uphold the decision of the hearing officer regarding student S2.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is carried. The next one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we uphold the decision of the hearing officer regarding student S3.
There's a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The motion is carried. The next is recommendation for Carvers Bay High School principal. Ms. Johnson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approves the recommendation of Superintendent Keith Price that retiree Larry Odom be recommended as the principal of Carvers Bay Early College and Career High effective July 1st, 2024.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Congratulations. The motion is carried. Recommendation for Waccamaw High School principal.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approves the recommendation of Superintendent Keith Price that Anthony Hunter Eddy be recommended as the principal of Waccamaw High School effective July 1st, 2024.
Second?
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Congratulations, Mr. Eddy. There's no action to be taken on the discussion of personnel matters and recommendations. Is there anything we need to do regarding employment matters, superintendent evaluation, mid-year feedback?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, after discussing the mid-year evaluation feedback regarding Mr. Price, I move that we extend his contract by 1 year through June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion is carried. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We hope to keep you a long time. Is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Go home.